¿Qué pasó la raza? It's your girl Shaul Guerrero, aka Latina Heat, and you are watching O-Faced Wrestling. Love it.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today on O-Face Wrestling. This is your host JT, and today I'm joined by co-host Brianna, and we are joined by Shaul Guerrero. Thanks for joining us today, Shaul.
Oh, hell yeah. I'm so excited to be here with you guys and have a little chit chat.
Oh, hell yeah. We're really excited to have some Latina heat on the show, so let's get this going. So, Brianna, ladies first, so you can start off with the first question.
Sure. How do we just do like a non-wrestling question? So like, we know who you are, obviously. I think everyone who's lived in the wrestling world, who's been there for at least 10 minutes knows who you are. But like outside of wrestling and doing the announcing, at least for like WoW and Lucha Underground and like and for AEW, sorry. Is there any other passions or hobbies that you have outside of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been a professional dancer for like, I think a minimum of like 8 years so far. And so, in addition to wrestling, I mean, like dance has pretty much been something I've been doing for a really long time. And I'm a part of a dance group here in Chicago called the Vaudettes. We actually were on Chris Jericho's Rock and Wrestling Rager this year, and we're making a comeback next year. And so doing burlesque and that kind of very neo style rock and roll dance vibe is very much a passion of mine. So I really love that, including pole dancing, burlesque, like anything like that. I'm a huge advocate for and participant.
Awesome. So like in terms of dance, do you do like ballet, hip hop, modern? What's your favorite?
So burlesque and pole dance are some of my favorites. I have studied ballet and jazz and modern. I was actually a dance major for New Mexico State University. But yeah, mainly I do more I guess you can call it alternative kind of dance styles now. They just speak to my soul. I feel like they're very empowering for me as a woman, and I love teaching other adults how to find that empowerment within themselves as well, and to love their bodies as they are right now. So that's definitely a big passion of mine.
That makes sense. Well, JT, you got one?
Yeah, so I kind of want to I have to ask, so because of you being, a third generation, wrestler, did you feel growing up like obligated that you had to be a wrestler, or is it something that you actually really wanted to do?
I kind of did a little bit of both of that, honestly. Like, I mean, we were backstage with my mom and dad a lot growing up. And of course, everybody asked the question, like, are you going to be a wrestler kind of thing? And my dad was like, hell no. Because that's like what a good dad does, especially for how hard the business was, and where the women I've always found very empowering, even though we've seen a great big evolution, no pun intended, but like a big evolution of where the women's division has gone. I think today is a lot more empowering than where it was when I was younger with bra and panty matches and stuff like that. So, but I mean, honestly, like I never knew I could do it when I was younger. I never thought I was skinny enough, pretty enough, strong enough to do it until I finally kind of saw my talent as the older I got. And that's when I felt it could even be a possibility for me. Sorry, I got a little tongue-tied, if that makes sense. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I totally understand, like, you would feel in some way, like, kind of obligated, because I was kind of like that when I was growing up. My dad was a correctional officer, and I was like, well, I guess this is what I got to do too. And I actually went through the process, and I was like, no, this is actually something I don't want to do, but I mean, obviously this is something that you do and everything like that. So, kind of like a similar question, because of you, being the daughter of, Eddie Guerrero and all that, do you feel like extra pressure that you have to like perform at a certain level every time you're doing anything wrestling, really, whether it's ring announcing, wrestling, like, do you just feel like you have to be like superb?
Absolutely. That's been pressure I've gotten from outside sources, and pressure that I've just kind of grown up with. Like the Guerrero family, whether you're a wrestler or not, we're very extreme in the way that like everything you do it at 110% or you don't do it at all. So I think all the Guerreros in the family, no matter what their occupation, have that pressure. And so coming into wrestling on top of that, yes, I felt like I needed to perform at a higher caliber than maybe where than what was necessary for where I was at in life. Even today, I always because I'm just like, oh my God, like all the pressure. And my husband's like, training is for you to mess up and for you to actually like work on things. He's like, you don't have to go in there being perfect. But I think back in WWE, there was so much pressure, even on the day-to-day trainings and stuff like that. So I think I always hold myself to a higher caliber, which is good and also really kind of detrimental sometimes. So I'm trying to work on the balance of that.
Yeah, balance is very important.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, like, it's, you don't want to put too much stress on your mental health with, expecting to be perfect and the absolute best, because I understand how stressful that could be, like, and then, but at the same time, you want to be the best, whether, you're a third generation, second generation, or you're the first in your family to do it. Like, you should want to be the best, that's especially in wrestling, because, it's very competitive, it's, I know it's a really, like, it could be hard to get to the top, and, and you can't get there if you're just going to say, oh, I just want to be a normal person. No, you want to be the best. So, I mean, I could definitely understand, like, balancing it can be a little tough, but it's definitely something that really important to do.
Yeah, and I think you kind of hit on something too, because it's like, I feel bad because I feel like people don't understand. Like, I have to try and like not care as much. It's weird because like my level of caring is like past healthy. I'm like, I care too much about every single little thing I do. And I kind of have to actively not think about the pressure and what I'm doing, because I'm like, I found like the more fun I have in there and the less pressure I put on myself, the better I perform. And so that's more of an active struggle, especially when like, I don't know your situation or anybody's situation, but I personally do struggle with mental health and anxiety, depression, and eating disorder and stuff like that. So I have to really try and like balance / try and not put as much pressure on myself, even though I get it from outside sources. So it's a struggle. We're learning. We're still learning.
Yeah, I think that's all you can do too. Is just to keep learning and to keep, the balance is always a word. Every time we do these interviews with wrestlers and people within the community, it's like they always stress the importance of the balance, because there's much at stake, I guess, within that you don't want to just like, you're treating your body well, you're eating right, but you're also not doing well mentally, or you're doing okay mentally, but you're not pushing yourself to be better physically. And it's just always interesting that it's like, it's a word that always continues to come up, that balance is important. And it says a lot about the state of the wrestling world, and even outside of the wrestling world, that balance is still important.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you.
So, which, yeah, I mean, and I think, full disclosure, I think, we've dealt with mental health issues, and, we're not even in the wrestling world. And I can only imagine, dealing with, the anxiety or dealing with depression, but then you also have to go and like talk in front of a lot of, different people, a lot of people. And I can only imagine like you can't, I don't know if you can really perfect that, like,
yeah.
Still, when I'm like talking on Zoom calls, or remembering when I used to talk in like college courses, it was like, it no matter how many times I did it, even up to like senior year, it was nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine to do that in front of a bunch of fans who also have Twitter accounts who can just, you're one slip up away from you being the next viral tweet about how you messed up. And yeah,
it can, the social media aspect of it is a whole other situation. So it's like, I feel like I want to try to be authentic on social media as much as possible, because I think we need more authenticity on social media, because everything just seems so stylized and an aesthetic, and I'm just like, yo, my life is not an aesthetic. I'm like, I try sometimes, but it's like sometimes it's just messy, and sometimes I'm gonna mess up, and when I mess up, I'm gonna own my ish and I'm gonna get better, you know what I mean? But like, yeah, it's a whole, man,
That's a whole conversation altogether. I totally understand. Yeah.
legit. Yeah, we could get in the weeds real quick with that.
Right. I think, you know, even talk about the whole social media part, it's that it's really, you can kind of tell in the recent years how that's kind of taken over the wrestling industry. Kind of like how, you know, I've seen people who are on Twitter and they're like, hey, come support me, you know, I'm an independent wrestler. How fast that can kind of go around if you got the right person to like retweet it. And, you know, you got someone like, you know, Eddie Guerrero's daughter retweeting like dude that wants to like wrestle. I mean, that does so much for people, and it's like amazing to see. And I'm talking about the good side of social media. I know that we were talking about where that can all go wrong, but like it has such a beauty to it of being able to connect in a way where we're able to facilitate those conversations with these up and coming trainers, these up and coming announcers, and so on and so forth. And I think to get back to JT's point, I know I had a question that was kind of similar to his, but it was more, I don't know if I want to say negative, if you will, but like we have so much footage of like your talent and your skill, you know, both with like announcing and with wrestling, and I'm sure with dancing and all, and you know, even outside of the wrestling, you're dancing. All that's probably like everywhere and out there forever, right? And people could, but like, do you feel like there was any less than positive perceptions about you and your abilities because you came from a family or dynasty per se of professional wrestlers in a house, you know, in having that household name? Like, did you feel like there were people that were like, oh, here comes, you know, Guerrero, she's probably gonna get handed everything? Or did you ever feel that vibe from people?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And like, even in the promos, people cut on me still today, you know, like like there's nepotism involved and whatnot. And, you know, oh yeah, you got handed this. And you know what? And I've never denied that. I will, and I won't, because I have had doors opened up for me because I'm a Guerrero. I'm very aware of that. And I feel like I want that situation to humble me, to make sure I work extra hard and be able to earn my place there. And yeah, like I feel like with WWE, like, you know, I got handed that audition, but don't get me wrong though, I went in there and I busted my ass when they had me audition, and I did my best, and they saw I had some potential, because they've had generation kids go through the audition that don't make it. And so I'm like, yeah, that's a little something there. And people did give me the benefit of the doubt, or I did get coddled a little bit more. I will admit that, you know what I mean? But along with that, I do get a lot more pressure put on me. Like, people expect me to have a 5-star Eddie Guerrero match because they opened the door for me. And I'm like, yo, I'm still learning. My dad had 14 years in the ring. Like, he had 14 years, and not even like, I mean, when he was 5 years old, he was running around wrestling arenas, you know what I mean? With my grandpa, and like, my grandpa was a hard ass man. Like, so I've heard, like, he was one of the toughest people in the business. And so, I feel like I do get a negative flack with that. I also get negative responses because I'm a burlesque dancer, and because I'm a witch, and because I've come out with my own personal lifestyle. People have given me a lot of negative feedback because, oh, you're Eddie Guerrero's daughter, you're bringing down the family name because I'm a burlesque dancer, or because my father was a Christian, like, how dare I choose to be a witch? Like, people have a lot of negative connotations or perceptions of what I should be because I'm a Guerrero, but that's fine. I'm always going to get that, but I'm here to just do me, and I'm here to work really hard. And I recognize those privileges I've had, and all I can do is be super humble and just try and earn my respect in the ring, just like everybody else. So that's a great question.
No problem.
And I have to make a comment, since you just brought up the whole, you know, fact about being a witch. I really like your hoodie, by the way. My wife is a huge fan of the craft. Supposedly they made like a remake of it recently, and it's not that good from what I've heard, but I had to bring that up.
I've heard it too, man. The Craft Legacy, right? I saw the preview and I was so excited, and I saw it and I was like, I don't know. I still have to give it a chance, though. I haven't fully watched it. That's on my to-do list because I've been in Texas for Mission Pro Wrestling, and I actually fly back like after this interview, actually. And so that's on my bucket list to do when I get back to Chicago, is watch the Craft Legacy. So I got to tell you what I think too. I'm sure your wife and I might be on the same page, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good movie on its own. I personally feel like it don't touch it, just leave it as its own, but
Yeah.
that this is what they do nowadays. They remake everything. So I mean, it was only, I guess, bound that happen eventually.
Yeah.
But now for my next question, it's kind of like two questions in one. So I know you were with WWE from 2010 to 2014, and then you took a 4-year break, and then you came back in the wrestling in 2018. So kind of like the two questions are like, tell me a little bit about the experience with the FCW NXT and why you left, and then tell me about like how you got into WoW and just ring announcing, because you were a wrestler and then you came back as ring announcer. So kind of like how did that all happen?
Yeah, absolutely. So, initially, like, I think I've like, this is kind of like, it can kind of get a little complicated because I was with WWE for 3 years, and then I did leave. I did have a year hiatus because I thankfully due to Joey Mercury was a wrestler and a trainer at the time of FCW that really looked out for me. He saw my mental health and my physical health were really plummeting. My eating disorder was really on top of me, as well as our trainer at the time, Rob, who just trained John Cena and a lot of really amazing athletes. He saw my health like drastically decline as well. And they had me go into rehab, and WWE covered my rehab with my eating disorder. And I was actually in inpatient treatment for about 3 months. And I decided to just take a step back from wrestling because my recovery was the most important aspect or the most important thing in my life at that time. Went back to the Performance Center after a year, and honestly, like, my experience overall with FCW NXT was a mixed bag. A lot of it was very positive. Like, I got to work with the best people in the world. I got to work with Norman Smiley, and I got to work with Robbie Brookside, and just so many amazing people. Like, there's just so many people, and I had very positive experiences with a lot of them. But at the same time, it was a different time in women's wrestling. Like half the time we were doing live events, it was a bikini contest. I wasn't actually wrestling, and it was just a different time. It was pre women's evolution and whatnot. So it was kind of mixed. You know what I mean? I had some negative experiences, but they all made me better. They made me grow up. They made me learn to love my body. And so I feel very blessed for the experience. It's taught me a lot. And how I got into ring announcing, though, was I've always learned how to ring announce. Like, that's something they teach you from day one at FCW. Before you learn how to have an actual match, you got to learn how to ring announce. And I just happened to be really good at it. They had me do it all the time. So when I took a break from wrestling altogether, I did Lucha Underground. I don't know if you guys ever saw that segment I did with my cousin. And David McLean happened to be at that one taping that I was ring announcing and doing the big promo with, and he heard my voice. He didn't know who I was or anything. He just heard my ring announcing voice. He's like, whoa, whoever's announcing needs to be my WoW ring announcer. And then it turned out, I also had the Guerrero name attached, and he got even more excited. And he literally called me up like a month or two later after he saw me do Lucha Underground, and he offered me the position of ring announcer. So that's how I kind of got into it. I freaking love it. It's so much fun. I get the best seat in the house. So I hope I can continue doing that as well as wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, every wrestler that I've interviewed from WoW has had nothing but good things to say, not just about the company, but David McLean. Like, he seems like the greatest guy in the world, and that's awesome. He seems like he really cares about his town. He'll go to bat for you all at any time. So, yeah, like, is there any plans on wrestling for WoW, or is it just some ring announcing at the moment?
That's up to them. That's always the thing. I always feel really bad because fans, like, all the time on social media, they're like, go to WWE or go to AEW. I'm like, we don't get to choose where we go. They gotta call us up and offer us. I can't just walk in. But like I'm always open to that. We'll see where WoW goes, and especially in the next year and stuff like that. So, but I mean, I want to make an appearance and hopefully a mark at every large wrestling promotion I can. I have my eyes set on AEW hardcore. Like that's where I want to be. That's where I'm really gunning to go. And it doesn't hurt that my mom's there too. So we could really stir some shit up over there. So you never know.
I figured that would be like the next question was like, we saw Vicky come on, and that was like, it was recently, is that, the next question to that was like, oh, I wonder like when her daughters are gonna come on. Like, it's like you always end up in the equation. You always end up in the conversation of like, once they see one Guerrero, they're wondering where the other ones are. And it's always, and I know that must be kind of heartwarming. Like and I'm sure like after a while it may get really repetitive and it's like, okay, whatever. But it must be really heartwarming that people, your dad's legacy was so profound that like his wife carries weight, now you carry weight, and everyone involved with that name, they want to see what you guys are up to and they want to see you succeed, at least for the most part. Mm-hmm. And you had mentioned that again, social media is that place where you can really analyze like your fan base and who wants to see that of you. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that would love to hear that you want to go to AEW. I know, I was very happy about it. But anywhere that you go, I think you'd be great.
Thank you.
Of course. I think one of the other questions, because you had mentioned WoW and Lucha Underground, is that do you notice kind of like the vibe? Could you describe kind of like what's different about, doing work for Lucha Underground versus doing work for, the AEW women's tag team tournament, or what was different between that and, doing it for WoW? Like, vibe different, or is like the crowds different, and like how would you describe?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question, because you know what, every backstage has a different vibe. And just knowing, even like as a child, like back at WWE, like WWE had a very different vibe than AEW has. Right. And and WoW is really cool because I do find it special because I'm the only one that's, besides my Uncle Mondo, who actually helped back in the day with the WoW stuff. I'm pretty much the only Guerrero that's been on camera and like working with everyone. So I feel like that's a special niche for me because I usually, my family has had stomping grounds in every promotion, and WoW is kind of like my little fun niche, with the exception of my Uncle Mondo, of course. But yeah, like WWE and backstage, it's very different. There's kind of a lot of eggshells you gotta walk on. Everyone's a little bit more tense back there. I think I loved AEW the most because everyone's just having fun and everyone's like a lot more relaxed there. There's just a lot better of I think morale there, I think. And also maybe I was also nostalgic too, because like I was running into people I trained with at FCW, and I was running into old friends, new friends, and I was like, oh my God, this feels like family right away. So that's definitely my favorite locker room. But you know what? There's something magical about a backstage, because I think the best thing about wrestling is when you're on the inside of it is the people you work with. So they're the ones that make it special.
Absolutely.
Yeah, kind of like at a job. If you get along with the people you work with, it just tends to be more fun and just everything just vibes a lot better. But like the one thing I noticed with AEW is they tend to give their wrestlers a lot more freedom with their character and what they can do, and you could just tell when a wrestler is just having fun doing what they're doing, because if you're being forced to portray some kind of character that you're just not into. It shows on TV, and then, you know, your fans are going to see it there. It's hard for them to get into something if you can't get into it. So that's what I like the whole thing with AEW. It's a wrestling company ran by wrestlers, and, you know, and they know, like, because they are wrestlers, they know what wrestlers want, you know, versus a company that's ran by someone who's not a wrestler and doesn't really 100% know, like, where, the wrestlers could come from. So that's like the exciting thing about AEW, and I think it would be like really fun seeing, you wrestle there. Imagine, like, you wrestling, Sheeta, Thunder Rosa, and all those wrestlers. Like, their women's division has been really like picking up, and they've been adding more wrestlers from the indies, and it just seems like it's like the place to be right now, honestly.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, even when I was announcing for them for the tag team cup tournament, I mean, Justin Roberts helped me so much, and he's like, he's on his way. Like, he's been in the business for years, and I consider him a legend. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh my God, like you're gonna help me with so much. It's crazy because even with like trying to figure out wording for like how they want me to announce and stuff like that, he was like, well, what do you think? And I was like, I've never been asked that question before. Normally I'm kind of micromanaged a little bit. And he was like, well, what do you think? He was like, do what you think sounds good. And I was like, and honestly, it threw me off. I was like, wait, what? This is weird. But he gave me a lot of confidence too. So I hope I can go back to AEW in some kind of capacity, whether it's announcing or backstage interviewing, or, I mean, the big banana would be definitely to wrestle, but we got to keep working at that for sure.
Yeah. I feel like it's just like, if I were like the owner of, AEW, if I were Cody Rhodes or, Tony Khan, I would want you as a wrestler, because I
right.
Guerrero, but I mean, I would want you in any kind of capacity, but I would definitely, lean towards the wrestling side, just because I feel like, we definitely haven't seen everything that, you could do, and I want to see more of you, and it seems like you've been really busy, as of lately. I mean, we've seen you in, AEW, Mission Pro, GCW, hopefully WoW soon, again. So, and I want to ask too, since, I, just mentioned that you've been pretty busy lately. Are things like picking up right now for you? Like, are you getting a lot of like offers from independent promotions and stuff like that?
You know what? It's kind of a mixed bag, honestly, because like I am picking up a little bit, but it's also I'm picking up and slowing down because, like, honestly, like in November I was supposed to have my first match back, and like I had a couple of things lined up in November, and then everything got canceled due to COVID. So it's like I do have people reaching out, but then it's also like, is this actually going to happen because of COVID? So my first priority is to make sure like my health is safe and the fans' health is safe and the people I'm working with are safe. So long as I feel safe and comfortable and that people are being responsible with how they're handling their audiences, I'll be there. I do have a couple of bookings for the new year, so that's really exciting. And I'm also trying to balance because I love wrestling, but I also want to continue my dance career as well. So I do love the independent scene because it gives me the freedom that I've never had before of like, after I wrestle a lot, I'm like, I can actually let my body rest for a day or two rather than having to go bump the next day. So I think that's going to really help my longevity of my body. I'm going to be a better performer for you guys. And like you said earlier, honestly, JT, like, that you guys haven't seen like everything I have to offer yet. And I'm really excited because looking back with my GCW match I just had last week with Queen Aminata and Renee Michelle, especially the match with Queen Aminata, I never had that physical of a match before and whatnot. And I'm like, that's kind of crazy. I was working for WWE and I didn't get an opportunity to even have a match that was that physical. Really, like, or maybe kind of close, but I'm like, and it was my first match back and I was able to have a super physical match. So I was like, I can't wait to see where I get to go now that I can have more control over, what I want to do, how I want to portray myself and how I want to wrestle. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, as am I. I mean, I really want to see, a lot more of you in 2021, just because I just know that, you're going to be excellent. It's in your blood, I just feel like it's just going to be amazing. And I have,
fingers crossed. I hope so.
Fingers crossed, yeah. And I have to ask the question because you had mentioned like when you were with, WWE, it was a different era. This was the pre-Evolution era. Yeah. Wrestling and WWE has changed a lot since then.
Yeah.
if hypothetically they, offered you another contract, would you give them another shot, or is it something that you're just kind of like not on your radar right now?
I feel like at this point, no, I don't think I would go back to WWE respectfully. I know my family had very long careers there, and that's really amazing. I don't think the WWE scheduling or kind of I think you have to have a very good grasp on your mental health, and you have to be like of a certain kind of attitude and demeanor to be able to flourish successfully there and be able to do really well there. And not just as a wrestler, but just, in all aspects of being a person. I don't think we would be a good fit. So, I wouldn't be able to continue my dance career if I worked for them. So, that being said, I think, I would probably respectfully decline and, make my name elsewhere.
Yeah. I think it would, and I'm only going to say this from the dancing aspect of it, because clearly it's your passion. Is that, I always would say to like people, like, you should never work anywhere where they won't allow you to have at least that work-life balance, if at most give you the opportunity to, I guess, succeed in another area that may not be exactly in their powerhouse. And it's very interesting how the world has kind of changed all that with, WWE used to be kind of a behemoth. It was the place where you went if you were wrestling. There was no really ifs, ands, or buts about it. But then when we have the smaller companies come in, they kind of gave them some competition. You could go somewhere else, but it wasn't like you could really, really make that name for yourself. And it's really telling now that AEW has finally come along and had been the only person that's kind of been like allowing people like you to give that second thought of like, you know what, I want to go do this, but I also want to pursue wrestling. And, there are other places that now have the money and the opportunity to allow me to do that. Whereas maybe like 10 years ago, it was kind of like you had to choose. And that's really, but that's just the way of WWE, right or wrong. I mean, it's just, they want their people, I guess, to be fully dedicated to them. I'm guessing it has something to do with maybe how your contract would need to be set up, the time and all that. So yeah, you would have to be like, I have to choose between one.
I understand what you're talking. They like full control, and I don't know if I don't think that's my bag. I think I like to have a little bit more control, and I want to be able to own my name, which my father didn't own his name, and they own everything of him. And so like, I think I would just like, I absolutely 100% respectfully, I say all this, I don't think we would be a good fit. And I want to have more control over my career.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Cause like you all mentioned, like they do control their wrestlers to the point where, you can't even like stream a video game on like Twitch anymore. And it's like, it's sad because, as a human being, we all have our passions that we like doing, whether it's dancing, gaming, and the kind of schedule that they have, it's very intense. Like you're wrestling like what 300 plus times a year, and it's not even just a mental thing, it's also physical too. But like that can take a big toll on your mental health. And Brianna knows that I personally deal with a lot of mental health too, depression, anxiety. You don't want to overwhelm yourself, like having a good balance in life. Like you love wrestling, does that mean you want to do it 300 plus times a year? Like you have other things that you like too, and wrestling on the indies or like with a company like AEW gives you more freedom to do these things. Like you can do your career, your passion with wrestling, but then you could also pursue other things and make a name for yourself elsewhere as well. Because the one thing too is like wrestling is something that you can't do forever. It's at some time it's good. It's going to catch up to you. Your physical health, and it's just you're not going to be able to do it. And not everyone might. They might not want to stay in the wrestling business too, and do other things too. They might want to go out and do other things. So it's like you could be a coach or a teacher for dancing, one day or something like that. So it's like if you stick with that. So there's just so many options too, and like especially with like social media and streaming and all that kind of stuff. Like you could be a professional video game streamer. Like they make a lot of money doing that. Like crazy. So
that's the dream, man. That's legit.
Get paid to do what you love. I would love, just to get paid to play video games. There was some guy, I forgot his name, but he got like $1 million offer from I think it was Mixer to stream video games for them. I'm like, wow, like $1 million.
Ninja.
Yeah, the ninja guy. I think he played Fortnite or something like that. But
oh yeah, you can make mad bank on there now. But like, I know I love Twitch. I'm like, I'm totally in love with it. It's so much fun. Like, and I love like the connection, like the immediate connection I can have with fans while doing something that we're all passionate about and that we like. So, yeah, the Twitch community is really cool and whatnot. But yeah, I like and I've always been like this, even like when I was younger, like a teenager, like I can't just do one thing. Like some people, like they find something that they would love to do for 10 years. And I'm like, that's amazing. I'm not like that. Like I get bored real easy. And so I'm like, I can't just be one thing. I got to be a wrestler and a streamer and a dancer and blah, blah, blah. Cause that's just how I'm wired.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And I guess to feed off of that, we now know so much about you, even given this like 40 minutes, but like, is there anything that people don't know about you, or like give us a fact of that most people probably wouldn't know?
Ooh, that's hard. I mean, like I feel like that's so hard because I'm pretty open, like with everything.
Open
like,
person.
I mean, honestly, I think that's something I don't really talk about. I am actually very introverted. Like, I have a little red light on right now. So I don't know what it is. I think it's just in the blood, or I've been watching my family for so long. Like you kind of come to life and you become, I kind of switch over to extroverted mode, but in reality, my circle of friends is like, I can count my friends on one hand, and I'm very quiet, and I'm the one person, like I observe things, and it's not until I feel comfortable that I'll be a little goofy and funny and stuff like that. But I'm actually pretty introverted. So like when I'm outside of my streaming or work mode or anything like that, like honestly, when I'm out after a show or something, I don't like to go out with everybody after. I'm very much like pretty exhausted because I give so much. All I want to do is be quiet in my hotel room and just like call my husband and just be quiet once again. But so that's something not a lot of people know about me.
No, it makes sense. I totally understand being drained at your emotional battery, because I feel that my fiance gets that. Like we'd be like, we'll go somewhere and there's a lot of people. We're like, you know what? Social battery is dying. We gotta go home and be quiet.
yeah, I could
Absolutely.
definitely relate, because I remember at my old job, a lot of the coworkers wanted to go out and have a few drinks after work. I'm like, no, I just kind of want to go home and just relax. That's me. Like after work, I just want to go home, crash, watch some YouTube, play games or something like that. I don't really like to go out and do many social things. I mean, it's not that I don't want to hang out with my friends or anything like that. It's like you're just so tired, and it's like, to me, I'll go out and maybe like once a month and do something with friends, but it's just like I'm one of those people, because I grew up with my parents being divorced, and it was my dad worked all the time, so I was always home alone, and I just grew up being used to it, and it's fine. Like I don't need to hang out with people or to go out and do social things. I've always been just like sit home playing the video games. When I was growing up, I was always on AOL, like that kind of stuff. But so I definitely can relate to that.
I feel bad though, because I feel you guys. I'm with you. Like my husband's my person, and so he's pretty much the only person I would kind of want to hang out with the exception of a couple of friends. But like I get so excited. When plans get canceled. I'm like, oh no. And I'm like, but little did they know I was probably already going to cancel, and I'm like knee deep in cats on the couch, and I'm like, yes, this is how I party. That's literally how I party. I have all my animals piled on me, and I'm just like, yep, I'm cool. Like, I'm cool staying in.
Yeah, that's like some of the best weekends, is just chilling on the couch watching TV, and I mean, it's so relaxing. And like 2 or 3 weekends ago, I literally watched both the whole first season of The Mandalorian, and then like the rest of the episodes on season 2 to catch up to that. And it was like the greatest freaking weekend. I was like, I really watched all this Star Wars, and I don't regret any of it at all.
Absolutely not, especially when it's The Mandalorian. I'm sorry, The Mandalorian is top. So I'm about it for sure. I love that.
I love The Mandalorian too. Like I just finished I kept like bugging my fiance about watching it, because we like sometimes we'll get to Friday and we're like, oh, we'll just watch it Saturday, and then Saturday comes, we're like, oh, we'll just watch it Sunday. And it was like trying to get him to like watch the last one, because it's like I'm so invested in it now. It's so good.
Oh, same. I haven't been home to be able to watch the last one, so I can't wait to get home tonight and be like, Mandalorian.
Won't spoil you, but it's worth the wait.
I was like, yeah, no spoilers, but I'm so excited.
I hope I pronounced it right, but did you all hear about the new series for Ahsoka? I think that's how you pronounce her name.
Yeah.
Yeah, she said they're gonna have I don't know when they're gonna have it, but they're gonna have a whole like TV series just for her, and I'm so excited for that.
Yeah. They're doing the one for Ahsoka, and then they're doing the Obi-Wan one. So we're gonna need 2 actually.
Is that gonna be a movie or the Obi one? Is that gonna be a movie or a TV show?
I thought it was gonna be a TV. It may be a movie actually.
I'm not sure. Movie.
When I looked at it, it was like they were talking about having Christensen come back.
Yeah, he's gonna be.
Okay, the story is way more interesting now.
Whoa! Oh, I had such a crush on him. Like I'm a Darth Vader babe. I'm like, oh, I'm all about Vader. But yeah. I know those weren't the best. I know they weren't the best, but like as a 13-year-old watching it, I was like, oh, who is this person? And being pretty infatuated.
I mean, I preferred them over like the last 3. I don't know if that's popular or not, but I actually did enjoy the prequels. I didn't understand the hate, but like don't tell anyone I said that, because he will come busting through that door to tell me I'm wrong. So
see, I like them the best because they had the most action and the best fight scenes.
The fight scenes were lit. Absolutely. I don't have any strong dislike toward it. I'm like, I'm cool for it all. It's Star Wars, guys. I'm like, I'm down for it all, pretty much. But I do like the most recent trilogy. I'm not gonna lie. I was like the tension between Rey and oh my God. Why am I
Kylo Ren?
Kylo Ren, thank you. I called it from the first one. I was like, husband. I was like, there's a bond there. And he was like, no. And then by the end of the movie, I was like, mm-hmm. I was like, by the end of the movie, it was like, told you.
See, I was expecting him just to stay the bad guy throughout the whole trilogy, and eventually, like, she would kill him at the end, but that didn't happen.
Did not happen.
There was so much hate on the end with what's his name coming back? Palpatine.
Palpatine? Yeah.
Everyone was so mad about it. I didn't mind it. It was just they didn't really explain how he came back. That was like my only issue. Like,
yeah,
I get it.
That was kind of left up in the air for sure, but I like it.
I don't have any complaints about any of them.
As bad as a lot of people say it was, but you also have to remember a lot of people that are saying it's bad are like, these people know everything about the lore, like outside of the movie. So I'm sure it's like a lot of it. It's because something happened in this episode of Clone Wars that, and that made everything that happened in whatever series null and void. And
I'm not that into it to where I can pinpoint every single little thing. So I'm like, I don't know. I'm just here for the fun, I guess.
Yeah, it was really fun, and they're supposed to have like another trilogy coming out within the next year or two as well. I think it takes place after everything, so I think it's moving forward. I'm not sure, but that's the thing. That's the confusing thing about Star Wars is like it's all scattered all over the place. It's not just one straight line. It jumps. So you have to really like do your research to make sure when, especially with like all the other movies that are coming out and like the the Mandalorian and all this stuff. It's all over the place, which is it's cool. But it can get confusing if you're like new to the franchise.
Yeah, I need a timeline.
Yeah, me too. That's what I do every time something new comes out. I'll like check it out on Wikipedia to see when it actually takes place, just so I kind of can get an understanding of like what's going on and everything.
Yeah, because there's a lot of little, I don't know if Easter eggs is the right, but there's just a lot of different references that like you gotta know where you're at in the timeline to be able to like understand fully. But I got you. It could get confusing for sure.
Exactly. So, Brianna, did you have any other questions or anything you wanted to add to the interview?
I don't. It has been a riveting time, but I know that our lovely guest has somewhere to go and to be. So
I do. Thank you so much for your awesome questions. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. It was really fun having you. Like I mentioned before the recording, like you've been on our radar for a while, and it was just really. I didn't even think it was gonna happen when I reached out, to Samantha. So it's like it happened so quickly. I was like, wow, like this is awesome. So yeah, we're
No, I
really
appreciate the
appreciative.
fun chat, guys.
Oh
Seriously.
yeah.
Thank you very much. So
Anytime we can do an interview and talk about like Star Wars or something, that's a win-win right there. Like I always geek out when it comes to Star Wars, so I mean that was awesome.
no, I love that. Absolutely. Next time we do this, we have to talk about cats more because like I know Brianna, you have 2 cats, and I was like, I need to talk about my babies too. So we're gonna have to do it again.
Yeah, I don't have any cats, but I grew up with 6 cats, so I can kind of relate.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean we can always talk about cats. I have 4 cats at home. So
oh yeah,
I'm like,
4. Okay, I only have 2. But
no,
yes,
that's good and balanced for sure. My husband has officially cut me off. He's like, "You're done, no more." I'm like,
I'm still working on my
Yeah,
one
my
more.
dad tried doing that with my mom after she got like her 3rd cat. He's like done, and then she comes home the next week with another one. She's like, well, when I bought the other one, I saw this one in the cage, and it looks so cute, and so.
yeah,
But
you just gotta take the initiative and just walk through the door with a new one, and then just see what happens.
That's
Don't
why
ask for permission. Ask for forgiveness.
100%.
Exactly.
Yeah, we'll keep that for episode 2.
Episode 2
Got you,
sounds good.
guys.
This is gonna be like a Star Wars trilogy kind of thing. Episode 2, 3. But yeah, thank you so much again, Miss Guerrero, for joining us today on O Face Wrestling. It was
Thank
really
you.
fun.
Thank you. Miss Guerrero's my mother. You guys can just call me Shaul. But thank
Sure.
you so much for having me.
It's just a habit sometimes. But yeah, thank you so much, Shaw, for joining us today. And thank you all for listening to us today. Make sure you sub us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Thank you all again. Have a great day.
Thank you.